Hey, hey.
Oh, we started the webinar already, and we're still 2 minutes till.
Well, we don't have to call to order for another 2 minutes. We can wait
Yep,
for our two
that's true.
missing members.
I'm going to start the recording.
Okay, a little late. I would like to call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Law Enforcement, Mental Health, and Wellness Subcommittee of the Eugene Police Commission. I am the current chair of the subcommittee. I'm Jack Rady. If the rest of us could introduce ourselves, go for it. Commissioner Hawkins.
Jensina Hawkins, Eugene Police Commission Chair.
Amelia Folks, Police Commissioner, Eugene Police Commissioner.
And I'm Holly Matthews, and I'm the staff liaison to the commission.
Very good. Question. Are we expecting the chief?
No, he will not
Okay.
be here.
Okay. That's the welcome. Let's take a look at the agenda we have for today, which is right here in front of me on the first page. Yes, I'm a little slow. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, or does someone like to change it?
Move to approve.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Passed unanimously. All right. Then there's the approval of the minutes. Does anyone have any changes or questions about the minutes?
I think the changes were made that you had requested, Chair Rady, so I move to approve as with your edits.
Is there a second?
I second.
I have a correction on what's page 4 of the packet, where I am quoted fourth paragraph from the top. I believe I discussed this with you, Holly, and the change does not seem to be in this packet, which was when I remarked that the Citizen Police Academy was an excellent program for the community. The point I was trying to make was not about the academy, but about the peer support presentation at the academy had focused on not clinical incidents, but critical incidents. But there was little or no mention of long-term stress, etc. If that could be corrected, I would appreciate it.
Sure. Could you please email me exactly how you'd like that worded, and I will make that correction. Okay, thank you.
I will do that. Any objections to our proceeding to adopt to accept the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Commissioner Folks, you might as well keep your microphone on. I suspect we're not going to be having too much trouble, I think, talking over each other.
I'm at the store
Whatever's
right now, so
convenient.
the background music noise is
okay.
abundant.
Understood. All right. According to the agenda, then, there is the question that Dr. Booker brought up at the last meeting. The motion specifically that no longer is, a motion dies if it doesn't get a second, but the proposal is one I think we should discuss. And we do not need a motion on the floor yet to discuss it. The question is obtaining the services of professionals, of a mental health professional for the department is the core of this proposal. And I have talked with Chief Skinner a week ago, I think, and he said he was working on finding a way to finance this position. It was to be financed out of the COPS grant that we did not get. And if the proposal that Dr. Booker made was that we recommended the policy that the department hire such a person. And my thinking on this is that since hiring in a constricted budget environment means someone else will have to go to add someone on, I'm not comfortable with the idea of making it policy, but I think we should recommend from this subcommittee that the department do everything possible to obtain the services of a mental health care professional. I know Chief Skinner already has one in mind, and I don't think there's any daylight between the notion that we want and what the department wants. Commissioner Hawkins.
When we present this to Police Commission in general, we will face a lot of questions on what we want this person to do and how much authority they should be given. And so when we I think we need to be prepared to answer those questions.
Do you have any suggestions along those lines?
I think that actually probably segues nicely into your next agenda item.
I'm sorry, say it, it'll fit under the next agenda item? Yeah. Commissioner Folks,
Yes.
anything that you would care to contribute on this question?
Not at this time. I'm still absorbing. Thank you.
Okay. I will entertain a motion or a suggestion as to how to proceed on this.
I don't think I don't know enough to know if we need a formal motion or not, but I think if we use this to pivot into the next agenda item, that will give us a framework for being able to make a motion.
Okay. I disagree. I just read the next agenda item, and it's post-critical incident consultations with mental health professional. I believe that the notion here, or at least my notion, and I think my understanding, Dr. Booker's and the chief's notion, was that there be a mental health professional available in the department, maybe not full-time yet, depending on the funding, but someone with an office that you can walk into and says, Doc, I'd like to talk to you. Whether it's post-critical incident or it's post 15 years of hard service or whatever it is, or it's something happening at home, but that there is someone there who is known and knows the department, who's on site and handles much more than just critical incident follow-up. That makes sense?
It does. Can I ask, what is the current protocol? Is it like connecting with employee assistance programs to get connected with counseling, post-incident, that type of thing?
Yes, currently EPD has the same access that the rest of us in the community have through the city's employee access plan, employee assistance program. So essentially they have access to the same mental health professionals in the community, and they get on the same waiting list as we do. Our proposal is that EPD engage with a qualified mental health professional who is dedicated solely to EPD and is well-versed in the traumas and stressors that law enforcement encounters.
Awesome.
I'm not certain. Oh, go ahead. Commissioner Folks.
Thank you. That was excellent. I appreciate the explanation, and that's a wonderful idea.
Oh, my tired brain just kicked out of gear. Hang on. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. I've got it back. Okay. The problem we have here is the next agenda item does not completely relate to this question, only the part of it. And I think we would do better right now to resolve this.
Okay.
As I said, I'm slow today. So in the resolution, we should encourage the department to retain the services of a mental health professional as possible. That may be redundant. They will only do it if it's possible. And similarly, I find the cultural qualifications of the individual. I think we should assume that if the department hires someone, they look for someone who is qualified, and that we don't have to specify that, because I think that's kind of strikes me as slightly patronizing. You know, don't hire someone incompetent. I don't think we need to say that. And they will be looking, of course, for someone with specific competence in the field of law enforcement. So we recommend the hiring of a mental health professional by the department as budgetary considerations allow.
Chair, does that hurt anything at all to add in the specifics that we're requesting as far as the qualifications of the mental health professional and with their expertise and their cultural proficiency? The reason why I ask this is because since we are making a recommendation as community members, and this recommendation, if passed by police commission, will go to city council. I think, yes, internally, we mostly agree that EPD will do exactly what is best for them, and that would fall in lines with that. But I think that our recommendation as community members going to city council needs to be as specific as possible without putting unnecessary restrictions.
Okay, how shall we draw up the wording of this? Should we do this right now? I think we probably better. Or should we do this? We can't do it by email.
I like talking through it together now if we have the time.
Okay. All right. This is going to take a few minutes to write down. I'm slow, unless someone else would like to take a stab at writing it. Seeing no volunteers, I guess I'll do it. Okay.
So one thing that I think we should keep in mind is that we have potentially 3 audiences. The first audience would be the General Police Commission. The second audience, if approved by Police Commission, would be the City Council. And then concurrently, our third audience is Chief Skinner.
So what we are trying to say is we encourage the department to do this. We're not saying this is policy recommendation. This is something we think would be a good thing. We want to say, we urge you to do this. Not we require you to do this by making it policy. We urge you to do this.
So then some of the folks on the General Police Commission will come back with, but why?
Why should the department do it? Why should we recommend it? Which one?
Yes, for both of those. I would anticipate both of those questions.
Okay. Why we should recommend it? Because we, as the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Welfare Subcommittee, believe it's a good thing to enhance law enforcement mental health and welfare. And why are we recommending it? Because we want to go on record as giving this recommendation to the police department in this difficult budgetary time, as saying, we think this is something important. And this is not something we are trying to convince the department of or pressure the department to do. Something the department wants to do as well. And we are giving our endorsement to that. Does that make sense?
Well, we can't speak on behalf of the department. So I would steer away from saying that this is something that they want to do and that we're endorsing it, because our stance is primarily to be representing from the community.
Okay.
Now, I would say that it's fair to put out there that the community feels that EPD should have access, should have unfettered access to mental health services. There will be some folks who will ask how EPD feels about it, and that would be a position where Chief Skinner can say,
Right.
yes, he agrees with that. But I don't think that we are in a position.
We don't need to
able
put it
say
in the
that.
resolution. I
Yeah.
agree. Okay. That's good. All right. Do you feel that will adequately answer the questions you anticipate?
Some of the questions that I've heard have been, are we trying to mandate or are we trying to help?
Exactly. And this is the supportive sort of resolution rather than the mandate sort of resolution.
Okay.
And I think that should be our focus. All right. The resolution that I would ask for someone to move would be the Law Enforcement, Mental Health, and Welfare Subcommittee recommends to the Police Commission that it adopt a resolution urging the Eugene Police Department to engage the services of a mental health care professional for, well, that's no for, just like that. Short and sweet, like the old woman's dance.
Can you repeat that, Chair Rady?
Yes. The Law Enforcement, Mental Health and Welfare Subcommittee recommends to the Police Commission that it adopt a resolution urging and encouraging the Eugene Police Department to hire a mental health care, to engage the services of a mental health care professional. And if we'd like, the question came up, and I don't remember where, I think at the last Police Commission meeting or in discussions on the side, that the list of providers that the peer counseling group have available for officers to check, if someone talks to them and says, I need to talk to somebody, and they say, okay, here's a list of people who know law enforcement and will work with us, and that is not necessarily being maintained in an up-to-date fashion. And should we add to this, encourage the department to designate someone to maintain this list in an up-to-date status? Or should that be a separate matter?
Separate.
Commissioner Folks, I'm sorry. You agree?
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave that out. So that is the motion I would like to hear. If anyone would like a change, let's talk about it.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay. On with the show. Post-critical incident consultations with a mental health professional. This is Okay, to introduce this, again, I spoke with the chief, and he has an interest in, currently the state law says that an officer involved in a critical incident is entitled, must see a mental health professional within the next 6 months, and may have a second visit within those 6 months if they so desire. And these will be covered by the department. My reaction to that idea is that I think it's an excellent idea to have the first visit within 2 weeks of the incident. That's good. But expecting anyone to be able to make 2 appointments within 2 weeks with any health professional is wildly optimistic and not automatically necessary. I would think at the first visit, the professional might tell the officer, I think we should talk soon. And they might schedule another appointment. But to mandate 2 sessions within 2 weeks, I think is unnecessary and probably inappropriate and possibly not realistic. But I think the notion of requiring the first visit within 2 weeks is a good idea. And I think we could recommend such policy from this subcommittee, if people think so. Any reaction?
What does the chief say about the 2-week time frame?
He was willing to drop the second visit. He was not hard and fast on that the first one he wants, and I think it's a good idea.
And would this be prior to having someone that's directly engaged with EPD? Where I'm going with this question is, if that officer is supposed to reach out through the employee assistance program and try to make contact with a mental health professional.
This is their choice. They choose a counselor. It's not.
Is that 2-week time frame still feasible? If it's a general public mental health professional?
Probably. I could not say, and it would, I suspect, depend, some providers might have more available time, others might have less, and some might be willing to find a way because of the seriousness of the situation, if it's so deemed, but I don't know. It may not be realistic, you're right. But again, it's something to shoot for. I think it's something to encourage and call for, and understand that policy is not always followed exactly. But it's a statement of what we want.
So do you need a motion for that, Chair?
Unless there is further discussion, I would entertain a motion to recommend that the department change the policy on post-critical incident consultations to requiring the first consultation within 2 weeks of the critical incident, if possible, if at all possible.
Commissioner Folks, do you feel comfortable making that motion?
Not right now, I'm sorry.
Is there further discussion? Are there questions of why this might not be a good idea?
I would love to have more discussion if possible.
What questions should we discuss in regard to this?
I'll be honest and say that I've been a bit distracted through this meeting thus far, and I apologize for that. My attention is not 100% with this meeting at this time, and I apologize. But I would like to talk a little bit more about having that in-house individual, what that would look like. maybe expectations overall. Would there even be any expectations? It sounds like maybe a discussion of connecting initially, maybe 2 weeks. But like I said, I apologize. I may have missed some information.
We appreciate you taking your lunch hour for this meeting, and understand the distractions. Not a problem. There are two separate questions here, I believe. The in-house mental health professional is not necessarily the person to whom the officer talks after a critical incident. That is to be their own, the counselor of their own choice, which could be, I guess, the in-house person, but it more likely would be someone else. So the two questions don't overlap, I don't think. The purpose for the 2 weeks rather than 6 months is, I've heard, there are some people who schedule their appointments for 5 months and 25 days, and essentially blow it off. And the requirement for it to happen within 2 weeks is to say, we want you to talk to someone about the critical incident and how you're feeling within 2 weeks of the critical incident, because the feelings will be most intense, the memories most clear and vivid, and talking about it right then would begin the process of healing potentially, and letting it stew for an extended period is not in the interest of the employee's mental health and welfare. I believe that's the logic.
So, Chair Rady, looking at policy 810, which is for the deadly force investigation, it states within 6 months following the incident, any involved officer will be given a minimum of 2 opportunities for mental health counseling. So as I understand it, we are requesting 2 edits to this policy. One of them being that it's no longer will be phrased as opportunities, because one of them we want to be required. The first one should be required, and then the second one would be the time frame that we're looking at. Am I correct in?
I think it's a different policy question, not the use of force one. But
So the procedure 10.6 for post-critical incident stress is, it says that it's conducted by PSRT with a mental health professional present.
That's something different. That's something different again.
And then the Senate Bill 111, which is the one which is the base one that all of the law enforcement agencies follow and then provide their own supplement to, says the law enforcement agency shall pay the costs of at least 2 sessions with a mental health professional that are attended by the officer, and the sessions must be held within 6 months after the incident in which the officer was involved. An involved officer shall attend at least one of the sessions described in paragraph A, and sessions with the mental health professional under the subsection may not be substituted for a fitness for duty examination required or requested as a condition of employment by the law enforcement agency that employs the involved officer.
Okay, there we have it. That's the 2 required by state law, and that the department would like that changed. One of them must be within 2 weeks. There's several overlapping things that are going on. The post-critical incident debrief, the post-critical incident debrief with peer counseling, and the I don't remember the other one. As I said, I'm a little fishimal today, but I've read it. This specifically is the employee consultation with the provider of their choice. And it is, okay, there's a separate question about this, which is the fitness for duty. And the part that you just read, I thought made it clear that a fitness for duty exam can be ordered by the department if they have reason to think one is necessary. But that is a separate issue. And I believe that the consultation by the officer with the mental health professional post-critical incident cannot in any way be a fitness for duty exam, because if it is, it ain't therapy. In fact, it's a stressor. And you will not get honest answers if someone is thinking, if I say the wrong thing, I lose my job.
Chair Brady, I'm sharing my screen. I know Commissioner folks may not be able to see it. I'm looking at the Hillsborough policy that was provided to us as a frame of reference when we were first investigating this. So it's Hillsborough Police Department Policy 313. And 313.9.2, I think, is the one that we were hoping to have our EPD policy mirror it, where the first professional counseling session must occur prior to allowing the involved officer or employee to return to full duty. And it sounds like we instead of that statement, we would be saying the first professional counseling session must occur within 2 weeks of the critical incident.
Right.
Okay, and then the second professional counseling session, it says, must occur prior to the 6-month anniversary date of the traumatic incident. Are we also trying to mandate that second counseling session, or are we leaning on the Senate bill, the state requirement that only requires them to offer it?
My understanding had been that the second session was optional, but available. It was offered, not required.
Right.
This
So at
appears-
the state one, yes. Hillsborough is the one that says it's that the first one is must occur prior to allowing the involved officer to return to duty, and then the second one must occur within 6 months. So Hillsborough's policy is much more restrictive than what the Senate Bill 111 provides.
Okay, is this the Hillsborough one? Yes, it is. Okay.
Yes, it is.
This, oh, okay, thank you. That clarifies things for me. Yes, and there is no requirement for the second session in the law or in Eugene policy.
Correct. The second, the Senate Bill 111 just simply says shall pay the costs of at least 2 sessions, and the involved officer shall attend at least one of the sessions. And then
Okay.
EPD's policy will be given
Slow
2
down there.
opportunities.
Okay. So this is what we will be amending. J, right?
Yes, for policy 810.
Okay, 810J, or it's probably 810 point something. 0.3.
3.5J.
Yeah, okay. And we would want that amended to okay, so we would add right after the first sentence on J, I think, the first session, if at all possible, must be within 2 weeks of the critical incident. 2 weeks after the critical incident. Does that work?
Yes, for the first one. And are we also trying to mandate, are we trying to recommend that the officer attend 2 sessions?
What do you think?
In my perfect world, yes. I think that would be a huge pill to ask EPD to swallow. I honestly, if we can get them to say that there's one required in 2 weeks, that's a huge impact right there.
Is there a need to require a second session? Because the data I'm lacking so far to really intelligently address this is how much of a post-critical incident problem exists. Does every officer need 2 sessions?
So one of thoughts, so if they're in counseling, they're going to continue to most likely see their own counselor, right? Most folks who are in
Yes.
counseling or whatnot have established or are in the process of establishing their own relationship with a counselor of their choosing.
Yeah.
So the mandated, I struggle with, because as much as I love therapy and I think everybody should have it, I think everybody should go because I think it's wonderful. I know that not everybody operates that way. And how beneficial is it going to be to mandate somebody to go who is just not into therapy? That's the struggle. But I do agree that especially after a critical incident, yeah, you need to talk it out. You need to process it. And everybody has a different processing, but I'm also long-winded in my thought process. So thank you for bearing with me, teammates.
You're long-winded. Have you
I
been
know,
paying
I was just
attention to
thinking,
me?
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
I'm just getting started, folks. I'm going to catch up with you, Jack.
All right, good, good, good. Then I won't have to do so much talking. Oh, that'd be a relief.
The day that Amelia has a shout out with Jack, I will pay money for that.
Okay, repeat the question if you would. Okay, the question, all right, got it. All right. The question is, some people, maybe a counselor is not what they need. They need something else, whether it's a priest or whether it's someone to go get drunk with or what. But if you read through that part of the 21st century policing packet that I had sent out, it identifies a major problem with law enforcement mental health is the culture. And it's a culture which is primarily male and tough. And I can take it. That doesn't bother me a bit. I'm fine. I don't want anybody looking at me funny. I'm not talking to anybody in a white coat. The only people I trust wear blue uniforms. Hey, seeing dead kids, that's fun. And consequently, getting people to talk to someone, I think in the EPD, I suspect it is increasingly, that kind of culture is breaking down, but it's something we want to encourage because the default setting often in people who have to face tough situations and get through them is, I'm fine. It didn't bother me. I can do it. I'm great. Then I go home and I punch out my wife or whatever, or kid or the next person you contact on the street. So I think it's a good thing to encourage people toward counseling. Because the state of Oregon has such odd laws, I think anybody can hang out a shingle as a counselor. I don't know if that's true, but
Did you say
I think,
anybody can become a counselor, Jack?
I believe Oregon has remarkably loose laws about that.
No, I didn't know that.
But I might be wrong. That was information from my wife, who has worked in mental health counseling here. So, although she had her credentials and was well qualified and experienced, but still, there are some. I see the question that you're raising, requiring it for someone who's just totally uncomfortable with talking to a counselor. But I kind of think we do better erring on the side of requiring one visit. And if it doesn't do the person any good, it's unlikely to do them much harm. And if the counselor is experienced in working with people from the law enforcement community, they may have ways of getting through to people who are reluctant to open up.
This is a very valid point, Jack. And erring on the side of mental health wellness. I like that. I will err on the side of mental health wellness.
So we had a resolution on the floor requiring a second. Do you feel comfortable seconding it now?
I do. Thank you for talking with me through it. I do.
Yeah, no, that's please. Okay. We have a motion on the floor. It has been seconded. There's no further discussion. Your vote, please.
Let me make a recommendation that we be very clear which policy we are wanting to make that edit.
Yes, you stated the policy section.
Right, what
And-
I'm saying, when we bring it to General Police Commission and thereby to City Council, so that it is definite, so that it is perceived as still within our purview, as we are recommending policy, we are not trying to achieve oversight or mandates. As long as we wrap things around policy, then
yeah.
it's within our purview.
Absolutely. And this is specifically a policy adjustment. And it's something we can, say, look, we accomplished something here. Our job is to recommend policy. We're recommending policy, and it's a good one.
Yep. So I am also an I on that.
I'm sorry?
I am also an I on that then for the motion.
We're all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Good. How are we doing on time?
We have 16 minutes, 15 minutes left.
Okay, we can hack that. Acquisition of a database on law enforcement, mental health, and welfare. My biggest problem with this subcommittee is I don't have a lot of information. And looking back at some of the previous discussions, it seems like a lot of it people have spoken from. My impression is, or I think that, or it could be that. And while I have somewhat of a picture of the national outlines of problems with law enforcement, mental health, and welfare, I don't have a good picture of the Eugene Police Department in this regard. I asked the chief how he could help us with this, and he said there was a survey of over 200 some odd officers who answered it about their biggest concerns, their mental health problems. And one, I'm not sure if that was the wording. I said, well, what did it say? And he says, well, it was not easy to get people to talk about these things. And the basis for getting them to fill out the survey was that this information is private with a big P, which is perfectly reasonable. But statistically, I think it would really, if we're going to give citizen input about policy to encourage and support law enforcement, mental health, and welfare, the more we know about the mental health and welfare of the Eugene Police Department, the more intelligently we can address the issue. The chief said there was an executive summary and he would take a look and see what he could share. I have not heard back from him. Do you know, Holly, if there has been any movement on this?
I just emailed you prior to our meeting and I reached out to the chief. I haven't heard back from him yet, so hopefully soon.
I didn't see the email. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, you.
Point of order, Chair.
Please.
It might be a point of personal privilege. You know me on Robert's rules. The subcommittee is for law enforcement, mental health, and wellness, not welfare. The two words are very similar, but have very different connotations.
Okay, I will try and get that right. As you know, I'm sloppy with language. Okay, I do not wish to overburden staff at all. I do think if there is information that gives us a better picture of the problems with mental health and well-being in the department, we need it. And without it, we're just shadow boxing in the dark. We do not have a clear picture of the problem we're trying to solve or help contribute to solving. So I would beg any resources that could increase our understanding of the problem we're supposed to cope with, we need to get, since this committee now has 4 meetings after this left in its mandate? Soon would be most useful if we were to accomplish anything.
So 2 things on that I can think of. One of them being that hopefully we will get some of that information as we get a report on the cultural audit the EPD is going through. The other thing being that the chief's hesitance is understandable given that our meetings are public record. And so if we can help come up with a solution on how to maintain that confidentiality as while still adhering to the mandates for a public commission. We need to find a balance there that will make it that will keep us within our confines as well as make the chief comfortable with releasing any of that information to us.
I would imagine we have no interest or need for personal information about anybody in the department, but I have difficulty seeing how an overall statistical picture and some indications of the sorts of causes and cures would be a benefit. I mean,
If
without
our
it,
department was larger, I would think it would be much easier to provide generic information. With the size of our current department, if there is any reference, for example, to an African American female, everybody would be asking, what is Navasha Tester going through right now?
yeah.
And so I think that there are some complications given the size of our current force.
Holly, you have any input on this?
I really don't. I'm sorry. I honestly don't have anything to share or provide at this time.
Can you give us any hint as to the likelihood of our getting some information with which we can more accurately focus our efforts?
Right. I think, bringing this to the attention of the chief would be ideal. He would be the one that, is the gatekeeper that could get you that information.
Yeah, that I've done.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next agenda item in the few minutes we have left, if we might. What do people see we can hope to accomplish in the next 4 meetings? I would like to do something.
I think we got 5 meetings. We go to June.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is there currently policies around officer wellness? Is there currently a wellness program? So I guess that's 2 questions. And then can we have or would it be appropriate to have an officer join us that would be willing to kind of talk with us about maybe some of the things that they see that we don't, that we could add to? Or I may be missing the mark completely on this subcommittee, but I just was curious.
So there is several things in place currently for employee health and wellness, and Chief and the peer support and resiliency team have come up with a lot of programs to encourage it. So we're not exactly starting from ground one. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. What we're hoping to do is supplement or enhance what they currently have. And so yes, there is a very robust peer support and resiliency team program. There is policy surrounding that. And a couple of our previous meetings, Commissioner folks, if you view the recordings, we did have both the chief and Emily McCauley come in and share with the subcommittee the current efforts.
I will go back and review those meetings. Thank you. That is very helpful, and I apologize for not doing my homework prior to.
hey, we are just thrilled you're here.
I
We
like
really
my
are.
bar. Well, Jensina, you've been here the longest and you've gotten to see the evolution of things. What do you think? What do you think?
I think after we make this recommendation to Police Commission next Thursday, they're going to send us back to the table with a lot of recommendations and arguments. And so I don't see it going through the first time we present it to them. So I think our next meeting may very well be working on rephrasing or restructuring our recommendation to go through the General Police Commission.
And that's the function of the commission. I mean, we just send things to them. We make no decisions here, just what the subcommittee recommends. It has no power. No problem with that. One thing I would like to see us at least gain information on and see if there is a need for any policy recommendations would be the question of officer stress that's not related to critical incidents. The accumulated stress of, as one officer told me, if everybody in the normal world runs around with their adrenaline level set on the green, officers are always set at yellow, whether they're on duty or off, and it gets punched up into the red not infrequently. And it is well known that these kinds of stresses, even if it doesn't involve dead babies or bullets flying, add up. And they affect different people different ways. Some people it bounces off, it seemingly, only 10 years later to suddenly explode. Other people just manage to cope with it. But it's there, it's kind of invisible, and it's a serious problem for officers' mental health and well-being or wellness. By the way, I noticed, Jensina, that on the actual package, it says mental health and wellness. So I have an excuse. Anybody think that's a good idea, bad idea? Have another idea? What do we got?
Holly, what would your recommendation be for that to get? I know we have that list that Emily McCauley sent us of the achievements of PSRT this year. That's been fantastic. Is there, to your knowledge, any list of current and ongoing efforts to support employee health and wellness?
You know, I haven't seen anything come out recently. I know that Emily did send out that information, which was great, as you stated. I know the hiring and recruitment team has done some things around wellness. I could reach out to the sergeant of that team and see what they're doing. But mostly it lives in that PSRT, the peer support resiliency team world. So I'm not sure what they have up their sleeve for the next year. I could reach out to Emily to see, what they have in mind, if that would be helpful, that we could share.
And if there are any aspects of policy they think might benefit from revision that would make their work easier, better, more effective, we would love to hear it.
Okay.
If we're nearly done, I assume. Yeah. I have something I would like to add. For the rest of our existence as a subcommittee, I think we need a clear focus that our purpose is to support law enforcement, mental health, and whatever it is, and not see this as an opportunity to protect the public from crazy cops. That approach, I think, leads us nowhere.
I
Is
think
there
that's a noble suggestion. I would remind us that as we are appointed to be representatives of our community, if our community feels that they need to be protected from crazy cops, that is also part of our mandate as well.
I think then it would behoove us, if such is what we are told, that we find out the reality of it. And that's why I do not have a clear picture of the state of law enforcement, mental health, and wellness, well-being. And without it, yeah, we can report on what we hear, but we can't. It may be way off the mark. With anyone have anything further they would like to add before we adjourn? Wow. Well, okay, I'll try and be a little more together in my head next meeting. I will probably get more than 4 hours sleep before it. So thank you all for coming. And we got a little bit accomplished today. We will try and accomplish more. And that's all for me. Happy New Year.
Thank you, folks.
Thank
We
you.
are adjourned.
Take care.